Thank you, Steve. And I know today you're going to get a real sense of the global reach of really what's going on in this space. I'm going to bring up my one. Okay. Green building councils are about harnessing the potential of the business agenda and making sure that the activity that's going on in every country is driven by business and has business advantage, but yet is working alongside government. And it is this model of harnessing the immediate opportunity for business and the kind of top-down approach where government needs to make policy about what we're doing in this space that delivers the rapid change that you're going to get a sense of today in the conversations that we're going to have. It is a truly global movement that is occurring. There are now 66 green building councils around the world, and it is primarily because no matter what type of economy, no matter what type of government we have in these different countries, it is this motivation and collaboration that's enabling people to see an opportunity and meet the challenges that we have in front of us. We all know that buildings are responsible for some significant energy use, some use of resources, and we know that really the biggest driver that we have in front of us today towards green building solutions is to fight the battle against climate change. And I know there's some esteemed speakers in the audience today, Diana from UNET and some other people that are going to talk more about more detailed responses to climate change. But it's our biggest government driver towards green building, and it's really what's motivating many countries around the world to uptake the model of a green building council. If you just see the growth of green building councils over the last 2 years, there has been significant growth in countries that wouldn't necessarily be driven by a market-driven agenda. Countries in Asia, countries here in Europe that have had a lot of legislation-led activity, whereas the Green Building Council model is actually empowering industry to take a leadership role here. And as you see from the numbers, we've had, from 3 years ago, 4 years ago, we had 12 Green Building Councils, now there are 66. And I hope you get a sense today of how the Green Building Councils in different countries in Europe are really working with a global view, finding the local solutions to deliver the motivation that's required in the country and to inspire you as business leaders to act. The World Green Building Council has many challenges as an international organisation that's driving this agenda. Every country is very different. And what we're now, with the huge growth in green building councils, what we're doing is we're starting to decentralise and really focus on what are the regional activities and what are the regional solutions that can mean there's more efficiency delivered in the region, there's less confusion around what's going on in the region. And today, of course, we're primarily going to focus on Europe. But before we do that, I'm just going to give you a bit of a sense of the kind of global challenges that we face as a community of the built environment. So some of the other green building councils around the world are dealing with very different challenges that you're dealing with here in Europe. There are countries that are struggling with developing issues, dealing with massive low-income housing shortages, dealing with poverty issues, dealing with huge contrasts in climate and trying to deal with that. So green building councils are not just focusing on, high-end, platinum-rated buildings or A-grade buildings, however you like to define the most modern office buildings. They're also focusing on low-income housing solutions in South Africa, low-income housing solutions in Mexico, and dealing with the vast range of possibilities on the sustainability agenda. And really, the term green building is really just a way that as an industry, we can play our part in making sure we deliver a sustainable future. So we're focused on the building aspect of it, but we know, and from what Steve said, it's about delivering healthier homes. It's about making sure that the environmental impacts of our industry are less driven by the opportunity that exists within that. There are challenges in especially Asia around massive hyper-urbanisation. There's a huge shift from rural areas to cities, which is meaning that, very different from Europe, it's meaning that there are new cities being built at a huge, rapid pace that's just not really seen in this part of the world. That's creating opportunities, of course, for business opportunities, but it's also creating some sustainability issues. Many of the people in these cities at the moment don't have access to drinking water, don't have adequate sanitation. So as a building industry in those places, there's some real challenges to try and deal with the sustainability issues. And again, that creates business opportunity. So the growth expected in the Asia Pacific region is over the next 3 years or so, the market's expected to triple in size. So there's quite a strong focus globally on the activity in Asia Pacific. But I think the opportunity that's seen by more mature markets that have experience in green building solutions and have experience in providing services to this market, they're part of the solution in Asia Pacific. I think there's an interesting transfer of knowledge and materials that's also happening in parts of Europe that have been delivering green buildings and are slightly more mature to countries like Hungary, where we were saying this is a new agenda in Hungary and in Romania and other countries. So it's really that transfer of knowledge that's happening all around the world from countries that have been understanding the opportunity of green building, that have been figuring out the business solutions and can now help deliver that to different parts of the world. The challenges in Europe are very different than what I'm talking about in Asia. If you look at a fantastic building like this, I would say that we don't have such a problem if we could figure out how to deliver buildings like this every day. But this is not what we build today. We do have issues around investment in our built environment. The economic models of delivering buildings like this have changed. We tend to invest more in cheap buildings for much shorter time frames. And so it's really around understanding the economics of investing like what you see here today that has a much more holistic life cycle type costing approach to understand the overall benefits of investing a little bit more than what we may have done a couple of years ago to get the long-term benefits like we used to, as you mentioned before. There are many councils in Europe. I think on here there's about 20. I'm always a little bit scared to put a map like this up because there's a new council starting every day, it seems, somewhere in the world. So it's very, very interesting from my perspective to see the development of green building councils in Europe, where a few years ago the legislative requirements in Europe were so much higher than other parts of the world, especially where I come from and maybe where Scott comes from. But what's happening now is that green building councils are actually being started up so that countries have one common voice to come together and actually figure out how to deliver to these high regulatory standards that are coming from the EU and are being imposed on some of the European countries. So I think part of figuring out those challenges and how to respond to those challenges is really what green building councils are responding to, and that creates an opportunity for industry to come together and meet those challenges head on and get that early adopter business advantage. Just another view of the countries that are involved, that many of them are on different stages of the journey towards sort of a more mature green building market or developed green building council. And I know from the presentations and the lineup that you have today, you'll get a very good sense of what's being done in other countries, what's being done in Europe, and how the amazing leadership that you'll see from the green building councils is making a massive impact in these countries. And so those of you who are business members and are coming here to find out about green building, I hope that you get a very good sense of the opportunity with green building councils driving this agenda in your country. I'm often asked, really, what is the role of a green building council? And my view is very simple. In this space, there's a lot of activity going on. It's not that it's not talked about, it's very confusing. There's all sorts of rules and regulations and products and people saying they're green and materials saying they're this and that. But for a person coming into this space, it's quite mind-boggling. So what green building councils are really trying to do, and it's one of their core values, is that they're trying to, in the country, with the local solution connecting to this international movement, find a vision for your country. Trying to have some consistency in the way that we're talking about green building, having a common language through the use of rating tools, but also demystifying some of the jargon that you come across when you start initially getting into green building. The other powerful element of a green building council is the collaboration. And we can't have the market transformation without the whole building value chain, from the people who manufacture the products to the people who specify the products and design the buildings, the project managers, the people who build the buildings, and then of course the tenants or the homeowners who occupy the buildings. So it's a whole value chain model where everybody needs to understand really what we're talking about, the benefit, and really what your part is and what the opportunity is in that. So the collaboration that's needed to find these opportunities is really what the green building councils are focused on, and you'll get hopefully a very good sense of that today. The World Green Building Council is really just an overarching body trying to connect the sum of the parts of all of this activity that's going on around the world. We do have a website if you want to check it out. We're really focused on empowering the leadership that you will see today, making sure that the knowledge sharing takes place on a global level and that transfer of knowledge happens. The measurements and metrics happen on the ground in the countries, and really it's the business opportunities that happen in the countries driven by the local councils as well. We do have an international policy voice, and we are very much looking forward to getting buildings a lot higher on the agenda at the next climate change negotiations at COP16 in Mexico. And I know that governments are really just starting to understand the opportunity to work with you and to make sure that buildings are part of the solution to climate change. It's the implementation that you do in your everyday business that's really what counts. We can stand up here and talk about it, but it's you acting and you seeing the opportunity and taking responsibility for your part in it that's important. So thank you for coming, and I look forward to sharing the day with you. Cheers.